the Bible is just about as wrong as it is possible for any document to be.
For fuck's sake!
They want to go ahead and they want to take this idea and talk about that as if it's real, as if that's what's real.
This is insane. Look at this vastness.
Hello and welcome to the Line Go Show, June 29, 2013, and as your host, Sir Strife. Today we have no topic, and this is the first show which is undefined. And today we have Jade and Phony Beetle thus far. Jade?
Hi there, folks. Forgot to unmute there when Strife got started. Yeah, so we're winging it today, but we're going to start with talking about some of the things that happened this week here. For instance, here in the United States, the Supreme Court made two very significant rulings. It threw out the portion of the Defense of Marriage Act that affected homosexual couples in the United States. And it also decided that the parties that were trying to defend California's Proposition 8 had no standing, and therefore the case was tossed back to the courts, which means that gay marriage or marriage equality is now the law here in the state of California. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of people really excited and happy about this, and there are a lot of people very, very upset about this. I think one of the things that is been brought up by the fundamentalists, the people who are very much against the marriage equality, is this idea of redefining marriage. Oh dear, you're redefining marriage to allow people of the same sex to get married, as if that's really a terrifying thing. Well, so what? That's my point of view. In a sense, you are redefining marriage, but we've been redefining marriage for as long as there has been marriage. In the early days, marriage tended to be for security. People married for money, people married for status, people married so that they could get heirs, and love didn't have a lot to do with it. And then we moved to an era where people were in love, and marriage was supposed to be for love. But even in the recent century, we have redefined marriage in ways that people aren't necessarily aware of. The one that is always brought up, of course, is that during the even in the 1950s and before, and I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly how long it went, but people of different races were not allowed to get married in certain states. States demanded the right to define marriage according to their own lights, and that meant that people of different races could not get married. But there are other ways that marriage has been redefined. In the 1950s, it was okay for one spouse to beat another. The police did not interfere because that was considered something that took place within a marriage, and that was nobody's business except the people involved. Well, that changed. If you beat your husband or wife, you're going to go to jail nowadays. Up until the 1970s, it was okay for one spouse to rape another in a marriage. Rape was not illegal within a marriage because that was a marriage and it was nobody's business, so people stayed out of marriage. But that changed. We decided that was completely unacceptable, and now if one spouse rapes another, they can go to jail. Also, people can now get restraining orders against their spouses. They couldn't before because it was considered part of marriage. Why would you get a restraining order against your husband or wife? That should be decided within a marriage. So this idea that, marriage is some sort of sacred institution, for many religious people it is, that's fine. But it hasn't always been the same. The rules have changed over time. And nowadays, most people accept that two consenting adults should have the right to get married.
I disagree with that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, great. Gary, you take it from there.
Okay. As I said to Jay before, I think that again, I agree with two adults, but again, I think the idea of consent. I think two responsible adults who are informed of the responsibility they're going into, because many people in who get married now don't understand that basically you're taking on the responsibility of sharing your life with somebody. Whereas, like, because like you look at how many marriages now, like people can get married in Vegas or married in the courthouse, and it's no big deal. You know, before you had to get the blessing of a religious leader to be even considered to get married, to make sure that you're actually sure and know what sort of commitment you were entitled to. Now that's been lost. But now I think that's wrong, because again, you're basically asking somebody to become part of your family. You're asking to somebody to share in the responsibility of your life, and you, as a human being, have to understand that it's an honor, it's a privilege to get married. It isn't something that is just granted to you. It's something that you have to earn, because again, it's different from any different sort of relationship, because again, you're not naturally tied to that person. You don't have any necessary ties. You've chosen to be with that person for the rest of your life, and that's different from, let's say, if you're going out with somebody. If you go out with somebody, you can just say, do you know what, it's not working out. Whereas a marriage is something that you have to work at and be responsible for, well, halfway responsible for, because again, any marriage that fails, you usually find, oh well, it was my wife's fault because she did this and she did that. It's like, no, it was both your faults, because again, you both have equal responsibilities in the marriage.
Okay. To a certain extent, I agree with that. But I think that, shouldn't make any difference whether the people who are getting married, who are making this commitment, are of the same sex or of the opposite sex. I certainly admit that people take marriage too casually, but I don't think there's a simple fix to that, because we have changed the rules over there. It used to be you had to have can't talk. Excuse me. You used to have a waiting period before you could get married. You went down and got the license, and then you had a waiting period. And one of the reasons that Las Vegas became so popular is they got rid of the waiting periods. You basically could go down there, get a license, and get married within, I forget what it originally was. I mean, there still was a waiting period, but it was like 48 hours, and then the waiting period disappeared. So yeah, people could get drunk and get married in Las Vegas. Happened all the time. And that's stupid. But I would think that, and the problem is, again, you don't want to, there's a difference between restricting people's rights. Now that we've given them the right to just run off and get married however they want, it becomes a lot more difficult to restrict that, to like institute a waiting period now. It would be challenged in the courts and it would lose. I would rather see education. I would rather see it in the schools and in talking about what a commitment is like, and I think some schools actually do something like this. They actually have assigned two people to be together, and they have to like make decisions together and learn what it's like to work together as a couple, because I think that just not taken too seriously by some people. But it shouldn't make any difference whether it's two men or two women or a man and a woman. That's my point of view. Hello.
Hello?
Huh?
Okay.
Is this Brian?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hi, can you hear us?
Who's this?
Is Brian there?
Hey, Brian, you got some people in here. I don't know who they are.
Oh. But anyway, um,
Hello.
Hello.
oh, hi.
Hello, Brian.
Go ahead. What's up?
Nothing much. What are you up to?
Hanging out with family.
Oh, so you're busy?
See.
Oh my God, what are you hanging out with those?
No, they just want to call and talk, I guess. What's
Okay.
up, guys?
Nothing much. We're talking about, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the DOMA and Proposition 8. and what the ramifications are. So what do you think about the week's the rulings by the Supreme Court?
What's up? Say again?
Oh, well, we're talking about DOMA and Proposition 8, and I was going to say, what do you think about the Supreme Court decisions?
I honestly don't care.
Oh, well, that's
Either
good.
way. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. Do you think that there are going to be any problems because of this, or just people are just going to take it and say, well, yeah, we figured this is going to happen, so that's the way it is?
I honestly think people are focusing too much on it. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, that's an interesting take, actually, because we generally see a lot of people being very passionate about it on one side or the other, and I guess maybe you're thinking just let people get on with their lives?
No, I mean, it's not about that. It's just, I mean, there's people going to hell, and the gospel needs to be preached, and we don't need to be focusing on Proposition 8. It's going to, I mean, the situation of America is just going to progressively get worse. And as a Christian, our focus should not be trying to stop Proposition 8. It should be to preach the gospel. And everything else will fall into place.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you think that if you can preach the gospel, get more people interested in listening to God's word, and then the laws will just sort of follow, right? The things will change?
Pretty much. Or you'd have to do as the Pilgrims did and migrate to another land and start all over again. I mean, you can try to stay and purify the current governing system, or you could just simply start all over. So right now,
Where would you go, though? That's a good question.
Well, that would be a challenge. If there's people who are, it depends. If people were really wanting to do that, they'd have to go to some land where there's opportunity. I mean, you could obviously purchase an island and be under the laws and governings of one particular nation that's most free, I guess you could say, or most in line with your beliefs, and just hopefully live in peace that way. Or, you know, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but you just have to escape, go somewhere else.
Sort of a new pilgrimage.
Pretty much. I mean, Jesus said, if they persecute you in this city, flee into another. I mean, it's almost pointless to fight a losing battle if the majority opinion wants gay marriage. Let's say you live in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, of course they want gay marriage in Sodom and Gomorrah because it's a morally corrupt society. So you're not going to sit there and try to change the laws there. You're just going to go to another city.
Wait, can't the people do the same exact thing?
What do you mean?
Like people in Sodom and Gomorrah do the same thing, I guess.
I don't understand your question. What do you mean?
Like can't people spread their so-called corrupt ideas the same as the Christians can spread theirs?
Sure, it's a free country. I mean, if you want to preach atheism or you want to preach homosexuality, where is Lena, Patty? Where is she?
Brian, you still there?
Yeah, I'm looking for my kid.
Oh, okay. Lost one,
Lena.
huh?
There she is.
Brian, are you familiar with the Hasidic Jews?
Say that again.
Are you familiar with Hasidic Jews?
Acidic
You know, the
Jews.
ultra-Orthodox Jews?
What do you mean acidic Jews?
Hasidic, Hasidic. They're ultra-Orthodox Jews. These are the people you've probably seen pictures of on TV who wear, sometimes they wear different kinds of tall hats, and they have beards, and they don't trim their beards, and
I'm not too
well,
familiar with the different divisions and sects within Judaism, other
Okay.
than the Orthodox Jews. I have been to Israel, so
okay. Well, the ultra-Orthodox Jews, the Hasids, they actually have built their own towns,
right.
and they have their own schools in the towns. They own all the buildings, all the shops, and everything. And they've done this because they believe in living a life apart, just as the Amish and Mennonites do in a different way. So,
Right.
And so, you know, everybody in the local police department are Hasids. When there are disputes, they are taken to the local rabbi, and they live within. There are a number of them in New York
Miriam, you gotta be
State.
nice to your friends.
There are a number of these towns in New York State, and I think there are other states, and similarly there are the Amish and the Hutterites and the Mennonites who live the old it's the old Anabaptists who live apart. So there are groups who are actually managed to live apart in
Right.
a community according to their rules, and we
Yeah,
tend to
and
be
that's
more
totally
familiar-
fine.
Yeah,
That's totally fine. That's like, this is my house. What rules we go by in this house may not be the same rules that you go by in your house.
Mhm.
Totally fine. It's perfectly, it's a free country. You can do what you
Right.
want. And I'm not against that. Like
Right.
if Jewish, Jewish sects would like to live apart, have their own, laws and governings underneath the country in charge, what's wrong with that,
Yeah, I agree. But the reason I brought it up is because it's so if you knew anybody or you ever had conversations with people about living a life apart, there are examples of people who are in this country who are actually doing it. Different religious groups, and
Oh yeah.
most
yeah.
people are familiar with like the Amish, but the Hasidic Jews, they have electricity, they have automobiles, they live a modern life.
Sure,
They also,
which is good.
They also live in a community in which they don't have to worry about people, uttering obscenities, and there's no traffic
Sure.
on the streets during the Sabbath and things like that. So they have that. So there is that,
Hang
that
on.
opportunity. Sure.
Hang on real quick. Miriam, what did Patty tell you to do? Okay, because we're going to the pool? Okay. Go ahead. Did you brush your
Okay.
teeth? All right. Go ahead, I'm here.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, if you wanted to form a community,
I'm getting off soon. I'm going to take the kids to the pool. Don't worry.
Okay. So what I'm
Huh?
So I'm basically
What?
trying to say, if you did want to live a life like that, there are examples of how you could do that.
I'm sorry, say again.
I was saying that if you did, if people did want to live a life like that, there are examples of how you could do it here in the United States.
Yes, absolutely.
But I have a question for you about that. Let's just say you were to be able to live in your community, and there are even people who live in neighborhoods. If you look back in history, you'd have these Irish neighborhoods, these Italian, Jewish neighborhoods. People do
Right.
live in a neighborhood. They can put that all together. I've known where there's a church. Everybody who lives around it goes to that church because that's just the way they did it. They helped each other buy houses so they could have the church as the center of their life, literally.
It's in her box, Patty. It's in her that little box right there, little pink box. Well, honey?
Okay.
What are you doing with this? That's not a toy.
Okay,
No, it's
but
not.
Gary, go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask Brian something. Brian, do you not think that homosexuals being able to live like a part of society would actually make us a better one? Because I mean, like, because I mean, are they not called to Christ as well? I mean, there are gay Christians out there. I mean, are they not just as devout as you are?
What's your question?
I said, well, there are gay Christians out there who want to get married and actually get married in churches that allow that. There are actually churches who want to perform gay marriage ceremonies. So do you not think that they should be allowed to do that?
If the law says it can do that, why not? I mean, that's their choice.
Wait, but it's not their law, it's that they want to. I mean, how does the law... Yeah.
If I have to get my wallet. Hang on. I mean, if that's what people want, that's this country. I mean, God's not going to God may not necessarily immediately intervene and just stop it because it's against his law. But you know what? He lets people do things all the time because that's their choice. He gives people free will. We may not agree with it. God may not like it, but hey, if they're not going to do what he says, then he's going to let them do what they want.
Okay. What would you do if one of your kids turned out to be gay?
I'd love them. I wouldn't do anything different. I'd be like, honey, I disagree with the way you're choosing to live your life. It's not according to, the Bible, but if that's what you want to do, that's your choice. That's your decision.
You think it is a choice to be gay then?
Absolutely.
You definitely think people choose that sometime in their life. How do you think they make this choice? How do you think people make a choice to be attracted to their own sex? I mean, that makes no sense to me.
It's just like when people make a choice to go be with, a woman or a heterosexual partner. They just simply are attracted to that individual.
How's that their choice?
And they want to marry them.
How's that their choice, though? That part. If they're attracted.
Well, you can choose to marry. You can choose to marry this person, or you can choose to marry somebody else. You don't have to be married to anybody.
No. I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about attraction. Like you're attracted. You're attracted to guys, not girls. You just are. You have no choice in that.
Honey, your door's not closed. All right. Watch out. You're going to hit your mirror right there. You're going to hit my truck. Yes, you are. And she's about to. Crap. Honey, you're within like 1 inch. No joke. Look at your mirror. Okay, you're about to hit my truck. All right, you are hitting my truck now. Patty, pull forward, please. Honey, pull forward. Do not go backwards. Pull forward. Put it in. There you go. Watch out, children. Move. All right, now go. Girls, go inside. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So what's your question?
I said, but if you're naturally...
Hey, go watch TV. Go watch TV. We'll leave here in just a few minutes. Yes.
I was saying, if you're attracted to like the opposite, the same sex, what do you do?
What do you do? I mean, if that's what you like, I mean, you can't help that.
Okay.
But yet it's a sin then to follow up on that and to, follow up with someone too.
Sure. I mean, just because, let's take, for example, when you get married. If you get married and, well, guess what? You find out you're attracted to other women. but you're married. Is it okay though to go after them? I mean, let's be real here. Just because you're attracted to somebody doesn't make it right to go after them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're in a relationship. You have to end it first before you can do anything else, technically.
Correct. Absolutely.
No, I get where Brian is.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? I mean, you may have urges and desires, but that doesn't make it always justified. You can't always get what you want.
No, I get. I think I understand where Brian's come from. It's a you can't choose who you're addicted to, but you can choose to act on it. Is that your position?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
I said that you can't choose who you're attracted to, but you can.
Exactly.
You have the choice whether you act on it or not. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Exactly.
Okay,
You can't help it.
I understand that now.
You can't help it that you're attracted to somebody. Okay, it's just natural. It's just normal. You know, one day you get married. You know, you may be working and you work with an attractive young lady. You can't help it. You're attracted to her. But is it morally correct to go and sleep with her? No. So just because you're attracted to someone of the same sex, okay, you can't help that. You know, but it becomes a moral question. Now, you're free to do that. You're free to do whatever you want. It's your life. But if you want to do the moral thing, you'll do what God says. That's just the way it is.
Okay, but you say that, but I mean, Christ himself didn't say anything about it. Now, I would think that the Son of God would say something about it if God himself had a problem with people having intergender, same-gender relationships. Now, it would have been a pretty common practice around the Romans, because if you know anything about the Romans, they sleep with anything with a pulse. I mean, and I'm not just saying that to shock you. I'm just saying because that's just the way it was. Now, do you not think that the way he did describe the way that they sleep with children or the way that they sleep with horses in a bad way? Why did he not say anything about them sleeping with their own gender? I mean, because he did that all the time, because it's just something that just happened as a part of their culture.
Is your question?
Why did Jesus talk about it? That's
why did Jesus not talk about that?
Yeah.
He did. He said, this is a wicked and adulterous generation. He says, a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the son of Jonas the prophet. I mean, he told them they were wicked.
Okay, but how do you read that was anti-homosexual?
Homosexuals, I mean...
Homosexuals are wicked, you say, but homosexuals are just as... I'd say are probably more what's the word, monogamous than straight people are, because when two gay people become a couple, usually you'll find that they're very monogamous, more so than probably straight people are.
They probably are. I mean, there's very, decent gay people in society. I mean, being gay doesn't make you any more wicked than the guy who's going to church. I mean, you can have a pastor of the church, who's swindling people out of their money and, doing all kinds of stuff, sleeping with little children in the church, and then you got this perfectly somewhat normal gay couple not doing that. I mean, who's the better person? I would say that the homosexual couple, correct? And nobody's saying anybody's worse or better. I mean, that's not what this is about. It's not about who's worse, who's better. The fact is, homosexuality is on the same playing level as any other sexual sin.
Okay, but you got to understand that was Old Testament and Jesus was New Testament. So I'm just asking, why did Jesus not clarify it and say, look, having homosexual sex was bad, when he said that he is the new covenant incarnate?
Well, because he said, I think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So therefore, he did address it by saying that
yeah, but
he.
I was just going to say, he came to fulfill the Ten Commandments, because the Ten Commandments were God's law upon earth. They were not the messianic hopes. They were not the messianic laws, which were like...
You're partially correct. You're partially correct. I agree with you, but when Jesus said law, the law, by definition, is the first 5 books of the Bible. And if you could even take it to go further as to being the Pentateuch, the Psalms, and the major and minor prophets. So all of the Old Testament could be considered the law by definition, biblical definition. If you read it within context.
Well, no, because if you understand Second Temple Judaism, do you understand that everything was in connection with the Ten Commandments? Everything to do with Jesus was the Ten Commandments, the way that, that he went to Egypt, which was connotation with Moses and the Exodus, the fact that his birth was in connection with certain ways that the Ark of the Covenant had been like your prophesied and brought into town, and that people could feel its presence and stuff like that. And it's the same sort of thing. So like, there's a lot of connection between the Ark of the Covenant and Jesus. So that's the correlation there. It has nothing to do with the Noahide laws.
So in essence, what you're saying is the Old Testament condemns homosexuality. The New Testament does not. Is that what basically you're saying?
I'm saying that Jesus does not, because Paul does.
Well, that's fine. If that's, I mean, sure, there's no words of Jesus saying, man shall not lie with mankind. It is an abomination, because he didn't need to. It says that in Leviticus, and Jesus said, I have not come to destroy the law or the prophets. I came not to destroy, but to fulfill.
Okay.
And when he was tempted by the devil, he quoted the same Old Testament law. He said to the devil, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. He was quoting Deuteronomy chapter 8.
Yes, he was. But again, he says that he even tries the Pharisees for imposing things like, for example, stonings and stuff like that, when he demands that we don't stone people because we've got our own sins to worry about, and that we have our own problems, so why do we impose our views and our own failings onto other people? Again, I just don't see that as being rational, a reasonable way to have your faith.
So you're saying the Old Testament is outdated? We should, not worry about it?
I'm saying that we need to understand the Old Testament, not that it's outdated.
Well, here's what a lot of people think. All right, if you read some college textbooks, I can't speak for every, but when I took I've taken a history class in college, and this is exactly what the history book said. It said, that the God of the Old Testament, was this God of judgment and anger and wrath and all this. And then we read in the New Testament that he's a God of love and mercy and all this. But to be perfectly honest, the scripture says, for I am the Lord, I change not. And then in the Psalms it says, thou art the same, thou yours, they fail not. So and Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. God is no different in the Old Testament and the New Testament. I mean, we read in the New Testament...
Yeah, but of course he changes his mind, because we have new covenants. So that just undermines your point there, because you got the Noahide covenant, then you got the Messianic, then you got the Ten Commandments, which are a new covenant, and then you got Jesus, who's a new Messianic covenant incarnate. So you got three covenants there. So of course,
which is completely in fulfillment of prophecy, because it's written in Jeremiah.
Yes,
behold, the days come which I will make with the house of Israel a new covenant.
Yeah,
and so God promised in Jeremiah the new covenant, which would be done and fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ. And the old covenant was done away with. The book of Hebrews talks about that.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying is that you got three covenants, and there are three different things of God sending down three completely different messages to mankind. So God, of course, changes his mind with the society that is around at that time. I'm not saying that's anything negative. It's actually a positive because God understands His creation and understands how it's growing.
Yes, of course.
Because He's not an imbecile. Okay, I'm just going to get a little bit about with that.
Sure. All right, so let's move on to a new topic. Let's not beat this one over the head.
Okay.
What else you got?
Gary, you got anything? Gary?
Did we lose Gary?
I don't know. I think he's still there.
Oh, he's probably still there.
By the way, guys, when y'all get the chance, be sure to check out my new Part 5 in Atheism is Funny series. I've already released the sneak preview, and then I've also released the audio only, and I should be releasing the full video here soon, so make sure you guys check it out.
Okay. So what do you think? I mean, this is, since you have a series, this is kind of in a way I'm asking you to try to condense things. So what do you think about atheism and atheists? I realize those are two different subjects. Because we have, the atheism ranges from people who just simply don't see any evidence for the existence of God to people who are adamant.
We can overly simplify atheism by saying the belief or non-belief in any god or gods. Right. I mean, that's just as simple as it gets. Right. But if you want to get into the complex issue of atheism, I mean, we could go down any rabbit trail you wish, which way do you want to go? That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, so let's say who the people you targeted in your videos. So who are the users or public speakers that you're targeting? Because then maybe that'll be more of a clue. Is it like people like Richard Dawkins, or is it more people like, let's say, for example, more educated people like, I don't know, someone like, I don't know, Victor Stenger or something like that. I mean, if you go up to Richard Dawkins, I don't think there's many atheists who are going to disagree with you. Because I think even they understand that he's wrong about some of the things he says.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, Richard Dawkins in his book The God Delusion, he's got the spectrum of belief, and it's, I believe, from scale 1 to 7.
Yeah, that's a full scale. Because you can't just put you can't put somebody's personal position on a scale. It doesn't work that way because people fall in the cracks. I want to go describe themselves as a 2.6 or 2.7 because people's position is nuanced. Because because there are atheists out there who don't believe in God but find the message of Jesus perfectly fine. There are some theists out there there's even some atheist Christians out there who don't believe in God but still follow the teachings of Christ. So again, it depends what you mean by atheist. Again, it's not that simple a structure because again, it's a nuanced position, like a theological position is. It's like saying, oh, we could just it's the same.
Aaron, don't jump on the couch.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I mean, it's the same argument that you get from these sort of atheists who go, well, all Christians are the same, and you see, they all have to do this or they all have to do that to carry on the belief. Again, it isn't that simple because again, people aren't that simple in their thinking. It's like any position, it's nuanced. It's like saying your political beliefs are grown from your parents, possibly, but again, there's more to it than that. It's to do with experience. It's to do with educational level. It's to do with experiential level. It's to do with a lot of things.
Sure. So what's the question exactly?
The question is that you call your series was it what was it exactly called? Because I don't want to misspeak on it.
Because why are atheists are funny?
Something like that. And I was just like thinking, well, how can you generalize all atheists into one category? That's my question.
Well, by simple definition of atheism, we've heard to say that all atheists don't believe in God, because if there is any amount of belief in a God or any God, then by definition you would be considered agnostic.
You know, agnostic and atheist are not exclusive, right?
What do you mean?
You could be an agnostic atheist.
Correct. But you do realize that people like Richard Dawkins is not an atheist. He's an agnostic.
But he's an agnostic atheist, he could be, right?
No.
Why
You
not?
cannot be an agnostic and an atheist. You either believe there is some God, or you don't believe there's a God at all. If you say there's absolutely no
No.
God,
That's called.
then
That would
you
be
are an
called.
atheist.
That person would be called a Gnostic atheist. Means they know there's no God.
I'm sure there's differing opinions on the matter, but for simplification, I would say that there's a dividing line. The dividing line is you're either agnostic or atheist. And for the simple fact of the simplification of definition, we're just going to say that atheists don't believe in a God. And the reason why atheism is funny is because when you look at the creation, you can clearly see there's a creator. You know there's a God. And for people to deny him or to not believe in him is silly.
Okay, can I respond to that? Right, right. But how people perceive an object isn't the object's fault. It's that person's perception of it that may be faulty. Now, people could perceive things in different ways. Like, for example, this is going to be one. Like, for example, have you ever read a book that somebody else has read and they've read something different into it that you haven't?
Absolutely, the Bible.
Okay, all right. That's a question. Now,
Good example.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think of a better example than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, people read different things into the Bible. All right, you wouldn't disagree with that, correct? Okay. So people, some people.
Holy crap! Casey, turn up Vaughn.
What is that?
Casey, turn up Vaughn. Holy shit!
What was that?
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
It's echo boom.
Nothing, honey. I'm on the phone.
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah. That's
I'm
Casey.
going
Okay,
to just mute when you're not speaking because your echo's pretty bad. As I was saying before, I was echoing. Is that again people's perceptions of an object can differ. Now, the reason there are atheists and theists is because we're looking at a unknown object, namely the universe. Now we can know what's inside the universe, but we can't see what's extent from that, or what the cause for that is.
There we go again.
Casey, your mic's really fucked up. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll just carry on. I think, as I said, it's now people can come to vastly different conclusions based upon a similar object. That's where atheism and theism comes from. It comes from looking at the same object and coming to vastly different conclusions about it. Now, does that mean there's one correct method of looking at it? No. If there was, then either theism or atheism would be the absolutely 100% Gnostic position to take, but they're not. That's why the most rational, reasonable position to take is agnostic theism or agnostic atheism, or just straightforward agnosticism.
Yeah, that pretty much agnostic theism means you believe in a God even though you don't know there is one, while atheism is you don't believe in God because you don't know there actually isn't one, or
Sure.
is, or any of that.
Well, that's why Richard Dawkins said on the spectrum of belief that there's very few people who are a full 7.
Well,
like,
yeah, because there's means,
almost nobody who's a 7. Like people who just absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt there is no God, and that's what I believe. I mean, there's just very few people like that.
Well, yes,
because
how would you know?
And that's the position. That's the position that I am attacking.
Okay,
I'm not
then.
attacking the agnostic. The agnostic is somewhat intelligent because he's like, okay, it may not be the God of the Bible, but at least I think there's some God. And that's a bit more intelligent in my opinion.
Okay, but that's your opinion. and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, just as. But say that atheists aren't entitled to theirs. Now, if atheists say that your opinion's wrong because they think you're stupid, then yeah, that's a pretty stupid position to take, and you can make fun of them for that. But their opinion has just as much merit as yours does.
Absolutely.
So calling them stupid is a little much, do you not think? Or call their position foolish when it's based upon their opinion and their perception of the universe.
Well,
Okay.
it's almost, it's like this. I mean, calling someone stupid to mock them, or for no purpose whatsoever. Like if my child says, "You're a poopy head," in which context is it? You know, is it to be mean, or is she trying to be silly? You
How
know,
old is
certain
your child?
context is. I will not disclose that information.
Okay, but she I'm going to say preteen. Would I be correct in that guess?
Again, I'm not releasing that information.
Okay, well, I'm going to assume preteen just for
Just go with the
right?
assumption. Just go. With it.
I'm going to go with that assumption, right? There's a difference between being a preteen and saying that, and being a grown adult person and saying that. Because, again, as grown adults, we've learned not to say that and actually have some reason and rationality about the way we go around discussing things. Not
Sure.
Going,
Now,
because you believe in God, then you must be a stupid moron who doesn't accept science. Oh, well, you don't believe in God, so therefore you must be blind and not see the world the way I do. You know, those two positions are faulty and completely false, because there's a spectrum of people's intelligences and what people know. Now, there's some people who are well-read and there's some people who can ascertain knowledge just as it's fed through to them orally or verbally. So again, it's like anything else. Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and get to the bottom of this, and find out what the question is that you guys are wanting to ask. I think we've kind of gotten off track a little bit.
Okay. Well, here's my point. Maybe you're not getting it, but I'll try and clarify. Right. How can you make generalistic statements about atheists? Okay. When you just understand that it's their opinion and based upon their perception of the world, which is just as much. Your belief is based upon the way that you perceive the world. So how can you make fun of them when your opinion is just as solid as theirs? Okay.
Because many times it's not an opinion. It's what people state are not their opinions. It's what they believe to be facts. And when we start teaching atheism as a fact, there's a fallacy there. You cannot teach atheism as a fact because there's no proof of atheism.
Wait, but I'm curious though, what are you equating with atheism?
Let's see. Stephen Hawking. And
are you saying scientists could be atheists?
I'm saying Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking in his video documentary, Did God Create the Universe? He clearly states there is no God.
That's his opinion.
Yeah, it's his opinion. It's not like
it's not a scientifically verifiable fact.
Yeah, you can't exactly.
But if that's in a documentary, then it's proposed as a fact.
No,
they have documentaries about ancient aliens, and is that a fact? Not exactly.
No. Again, a documentary is again, it's taking people's point of view and presenting it. Now, if people tend to favour that point of view, they'll tend to watch that video. Now, there are documentaries that do talk about facts. Okay. No, Professor Hawking is a very intelligent man, and also but he's not a theologian, and that's the problem, is that he takes things in a very modernly scientific way. Again, that's not his fault. That's just the way his brain works. Okay. Okay, but what you're saying is because one atheist made an argument, therefore they must all subscribe to that point of view. Again, some of them may disagree with what Professor Hawkins say, or they may want to clarify what he said and put it into their own words. Again, you can't to say, oh, well, because one atheist said it, therefore that's what we all think, they all think. Because again, it's like saying, well, Pastor Fred Phelps said this, so therefore all Christians must agree with what he said there. It's the same. It's the same sort of guilt by association fallacy.
Yeah. Can I just say something about Fred Phelps?
Go ahead.
Go on.
All right. Just for the record, Westboro Baptist Church is not a Baptist church. Trust me, I know because I go to one. I go to a Baptist church, and they are not Baptists. If anything, they're of the Church of Satan. So, just to clarify that.
Not speaking then to anyone who disagrees with your hair. Well, probably two people. But
I really don't really care what they call it. I don't care. I mean, you know, you can call it church, whatever you want. You know.
They're a hate group.
Well, yes.
That's what they are.
Well, yeah, that's
They're a hate group. Okay, so continue. I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay, no, it's fine. You want to clarify your position. But if you look at, for example, if you look at, as I said before, you can't take what Professor Hawkins said and apply it to every atheist, because they may agree in some circumstances, but disagree in others. Again, like as I said, you may agree with some things that Pastor Fred with every.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Go downstairs. Take your problems elsewhere.
Okay. As I said, it's.
They're trying to tattletale.
Yeah, well, as I said, you may agree with every eighth word that Pastor Fred Phelps says. Doesn't mean you agree with every position he holds.
Do I agree with him? Absolutely not.
No. I wasn't asking if you agreed with him. I'm saying it's like if let's say an atheist came to you and say, well, Pastor Fred Phelps said that that all homosexuals should be put on an island and it should be floated into the middle of the Atlantic and sunk. Right?
Okay.
You'd say, I totally do not agree with that position. Okay, but he says that you're a Christian, so therefore you must agree with that. That's exactly the same argument you just put forward about Professor Stephen Hawking. Because he made that argument and he's an atheist, therefore that every atheist in the world must agree with that argument.
So Richard Dawkins, or Stephen Hawking, I'm sorry, you said Stephen Hawking. So he's a cult leader. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying there are two individuals who hold an opinion who are part of the group that is known as atheists.
I mean, because that's what Fred Phelps is. Fred Phelps is a cult.
No. I'm not accusing them. I'm using the fact that he's a Christian, and you're a Christian. Well, both of us are Christians, so therefore
he's definitely not a Christian.
By
biblical definition.
I don't define other people's positions for them. He declares himself to be one.
You know what Fred Phelps is, in my opinion. I think he's a troll. He's like a real-life troll. I mean, that's what I look at him like.
Let me take somebody else who you might not think is a cult leader. Let's say, for example, William Lane Craig. No, let's say, do you agree with every idea William Lane Craig has ever put forth?
I can't say I agree with him on every position, no.
Okay, so would it be so? Let's say he makes an argument, and some atheist says to you, "Right, you have to defend what William Lane Craig said." Would that be fair? Yes or no?
I get what you're saying. Believe me, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I know Stephen Hawking and Richard Dawkins say things that you guys don't all agree upon. I mean, that's up to
you guys. Again, I'm not an atheist.
Gary is.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a Christian, or what are you?
I'm a Christian. Well, I'm a Unitarian at the moment, but I'm thinking about being a Quaker. But that's.
Well, who am I speaking with? Am I speaking with agnostics, atheists? What is this?
You're speaking with Gary is a Christian.
The two atheists.
Yeah.
Okay, one Christian. Are you a theistic Christian, atheistic Christian?
I'm a theistic Christian. I believe well, actually, I'd probably keep my position more to deistic, because I don't believe it's the God of the Bible, but I believe in a creator being, So
what part makes you Christian?
That I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Okay. And Jesus is the God of the Bible. You do realize that, right?
If you believe in the Trinity, yes, but I'm a Unitarian, so we don't. But yeah, that's going to change soon. So again, that's a
So you
position
believe that? Okay, so it's like this. You believe Jesus was a moral man who had great teachings,
I believe
but
he
you
was.
don't believe he was God.
I believe he was a moral man who did great works on earth. Yes, but also did miracles. So yeah.
So you admit there's a God.
No, I believe there's a God. I don't admit. I think in
But you
my
just don't think he's the God of the Bible.
No. Again, I think that again. If
I'm just trying to understand your beliefs, man. I mean, if you're a Christian, you gotta take it as a whole. I mean, Jesus was the God of the Bible. I mean, that's just who he said he was.
I believe in the God of the Bible in the same way that it's the God of the Bhagavad Gita and the God of and the God of the Quran and the God of the Norse mythology and stuff like that. And, I believe there was one created God for all these things and just.
Well, you do know that the Quran does say, in reference to the creation, it uses the word us when God speaks. And that us is actually referring to the Trinity.
Well, they don't
know that or not.
Trinity, but I'm not going to defend the Muslim position here. But what I'm saying is that again, I'm not going to defend my own position. I'm just saying that I understand I try and understand the atheist position because I used to be one. So again, it's
okay.
This is the reason that I defend what they think, because again, it's not fair to ask them to defend the position anymore. It's fair to them to ask us to do the same.
Well, Jesus said, Jesus said, "He that is not with me is against me." So, are you with him or are you against him? Because if you're with him, you're gonna be on his side and preach the gospel, not trying to hinder it.
Right, but again, I could be on his side, right? But I can still be friendly with people who disagree with me on it. Okay, because.
So you're trying to be a mediator.
No, I'm trying to do what Jesus did. Did he not have do his ministry not to people like, for example, tax collectors and sinners and stuff like that? Did he not sit with those sort of people?
So let me ask this question to the other guys. I'm not sure what your names are.
Jade, you still there?
But is this the other Christian that you guys wanted to bring on?
No.
No, Shar was gonna come in earlier, but she was, I don't know, what were you doing, Shar?
Just asking.
Yeah. No.
I think Jade's AFK though.
I'll be on in a minute, in just a little bit.
All right, bro.
Go watch Disney Junior. Go watch Disney Junior.
But the thing is, Brian, is that if you ask the others again, they know my position because they've talked to me one-on-one and they know where I stand. Again, I don't try and preach the gospel at them, but if they ask me, they don't. Again, I try to explain the gospel in the way that they could understand.
So we're on the same side. I mean, essentially we're on the same side.
I don't see myself on anybody's. Again, I don't see myself on a side. Again, I'm a Christian because that's what I believe to be true.
I think
Jesus Christ.
I think Gary
do
means.
I think other people should adopt that? Of course I do, but I don't want to force that on people. And that's the way. Okay, in the same way that again, I'm a socialist, but I don't push that on people because as much as I would like other people to be socialist, I know that other people have their own opinions and own life lived.
All right, now let's get to, I guess, the bottom of this, or to the next topic. And I also want to hear from these other guys as well. So let's go ahead and move along.
Well, question. So you're attacking a position which pretty much nobody holds, though. That's my question.
All right. So what's the next topic you want to talk about then?
Yeah. What do you want to talk about, Brian?
I'm just here to answer questions.
Okay. Well. I mean, well, does anyone else want to ask him questions about the series he's doing? What's the series called again?
I mean, I know you guys were talking about the historicity of Jesus Christ, and y'all were talking about maybe bringing that up in this debate.
Debate?
What do you mean talking about the historicity of Jesus Christ?
Yeah, who brought that up even? I don't remember anyone.
No, I mean, what do you mean the historicity of Jesus Christ? I mean, bring it up as a subject.
Well, I'm just bringing that up. I'm just simply saying that when I asked one of the guys,
Oh, yeah, Steve, yeah.
what was going to be a topic, he said they were thinking about the historicity of Jesus Christ.
Okay. I mean, again, I know where I stand on the subject. That it's as much as an issue as evolution is, as in that pretty much the historians have basically said that he's a historical figure. We should just get over it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, in the same way that evolution happens, we should just get over that as well. This is basically the same issue.
Yeah.
Well, again, I don't know. I've been talking too much. I'll let everyone else go.
Shar, are you there?
Come on, guys.
Jade, you
in.
there?
Let's hear it.
Oh,
What
shit.
do you got?
I forgot my mic was muted. Jade, you there?
If I was muted too because you guys, I didn't want to, have any strange noises coming from, my end while you guys were talking. I've got Freddie jumping around. Freddie's my cat, by the way.
Your cat's still doing it?
I get on, I start discussing things with people, and, Freddie is jealous. He thinks that I should pay attention to him. Except, of course, when I pay attention to him, then he leaves. He just was testing me. That's cats for you.
You have any questions, Jade?
What?
You
have
any questions for him?
What is the historical evidence for the existence of Jesus?
The Gospels. The Old Testament. To start.
How
written document.
Can we have,
how is the Old
veracity
Testament
of these?
evidence of a person named Jesus in first century Palestine, I think it was?
Because they're eyewitness accounts.
But the Old Testament has nothing to do with this guy.
Sure it does. Sure it does.
How?
Well, take for one, Daniel's prophecy, chapter 9. I'll read it to you.
Is it the one where pretty much it seems like it's the thing of a crucifixion, I guess?
No, it's very cut and dry. It says in Daniel chapter 9, which is written hundreds of years before any of the Gospels, it says, "Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself." And so on and so forth.
Okay.
This was fulfilled in the life of Jesus Christ, which, by the way, the word Christ means Messiah.
Well, isn't that
So
It doesn't mean Messiah, so...
Yeah.
It comes from Christ. It means anointed one in Greek.
Yeah.
It means what?
Anointed one.
Anointed one? Well, if you go to Psalms chapter 2, it speaks about the anointed one.
Christus means the anointed one.
Well, here, let me just read it to you. Let me just read it to you. I'll let you talk. Hang on. I just want to read it to you.
I'm trying to help you, Brian.
I know what it means. It says here in Psalms chapter 2. Let me just read it and then you can speak. It says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree the Lord hath said unto me. Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee." And then verse 12, "Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and ye perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him." So his anointed is right there in Scripture.
Okay.
And it's right there.
I'm trying to help you here, Brian. I'm trying to help you here, Brian. Right? Here's the problem, right? you can't prove that Jesus existed from the Bible because because he's written about in the Bible. Now you can say that they were eyewitness accounts. I would actually agree with you. But again, when you're speaking to people who don't believe that, again, you sort of have to go outside the Bible to find sources for his existence. Okay?
You don't have to because it's all written here.
No.
It's
I'm saying
written.
when you're dealing with people who don't accept the authority of the Bible. Okay?
I understand that, but that's okay. People don't Here's the thing: people don't accept the written law of the land, but it's still relevant and it still applies, and it will judge you if you break the law. The same applies to the Bible. If you may not agree with it, you may not believe it, but guess what? When you die and you stand before God, the Bible, the written law of God, will be opened on Judgment Day, and whether you believed it or not, you'll be judged according to the Scriptures. Jesus said, "He that heareth my words and believeth them not, he that receiveth not my words, hath one that judges him. The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day."
Okay, I mean,
So the very word that Jesus speaks, it says here, verse 47, in John chapter 12, it says, "And if any man hears my words and believe not, I judge him not. For I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. He that rejecteth me and receiveth not my words hath one that judgeth him. The word that I have spoken, the same shall judge him in the last day."
Okay.
The Bible is going to be open on Judgment Day, and whether you guys believe it or not, it doesn't matter. You can pull up this and that proof and this proof and and what this person says and this historian and this doctor and whatnot. It doesn't matter because one day the Bible's going to be open and you're going to be questioned why you didn't believe it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why you don't believe the Bible. I'm going to tell you exactly why you don't believe the Bible.
Are you going to say
I
because
can
we
tell
love?
you. I can tell you.
Are you going to say because we love our sin?
No. I'm going to tell you right here. It says in 2 Peter chapter, chapter 2. 2 Peter chapter 2, it says, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of." It says, many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. The way of truth is the Bible.
And how do you know it's truth? How do you know it's truth, though? The question is.
Because Jesus said in John chapter 17, says, "Thy word is truth."
But that's in the Bible.
Within context, this is speaking of the Bible. That is what it's speaking of.
Right. Here's the thing, right? Have you ever read any historian, or stuff like that? Now, the historians agree with you that Jesus existed, okay? And this would be probably a better argument to lead off with, okay? That the scholarly consensus is that Jesus existed around about the 1st century, okay? And that very few people disagree with that statement. Now, the reason is that many people have talked about his crucifixion by Pilate in the 1st century. Now, what else we know about him is a mystery and what is being talked about at the moment through scholars. Because there are people who believe in the biblical narrative and there's people who don't. Okay? And that's up to people's opinions, whatever.
Well, the thing is, you say, like, I'll be standing there on Judgment Day and I'll have to explain why I didn't believe. And the only thing I'll be able to say is, you didn't reveal yourself to me. Like, I don't have anything to go on. Like, I can't, I don't have any other reason. Well, I don't. But that's just it. I don't. In all honesty, I don't.
Look, and I sympathize. I really do. Because I know what it's like to sit there and you pray and nothing immediately happens. God wants to reveal yourself to me. And bam, we want it right there and then. Sometimes it takes time.
But see, I
And
was a Christian
but
for
here's the thing: when
25 years. And I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying that I don't believe that anymore, and I can't go back to believing it. So I'm left with nothing. Like I can't force myself to believe, right? So all I can do when God asks me is just say, I'm sorry, you didn't give me what I needed in order to believe. Obviously, that's all I've got. Right?
well, he has. It's just not what you would expect. See, we expect God to just show up at our door. But you see,
Well,
God's
no,
ways are not our ways.
anything
It
would
says
be.
that.
But how do,
Yeah,
if he doesn't tell me
why don't you
that
pick
it's
this?
from him, I can't do anything with it.
I know. Well, this is what people want God to do. God, if you're real, please pick up my shoe and move it across the room. And it doesn't happen. And when that
very
doesn't
good
happen,
start.
and see, when that doesn't happen, people just start to doubt his existence. But here's the thing. God's given us the Bible, okay? And it's not circular reasoning. I'm sorry. Even your rational wiki admits that. Go read about it. It says in one of their articles that it's actually not circular reasoning to prove the Bible with the Bible. In fact, I believe it's in the Historicity of Jesus. It's in one of their articles. So God's given us the Bible, the written document, proof of his existence, proof of his miracles and whatnot. And Jesus said this, and just listen to what it says. It says here in John chapter 15, it says, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hateth me hateth my Father also. If I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. But now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father. But this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled that is written in their law, they hated me without a cause. And so we read here, well, let me explain it before, I don't want to just read it and leave you hanging, though. I don't want to just read it and leave you hanging. Jesus said, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. Now, Jesus came and spoke to the world, all right, and it's recorded in Scripture.
But didn't he just speak to the people in Palestine?
No, he spoke to the world. Spoke to the world. Jesus said, I spoke openly to the world. He said it to the Sanhedrin, when he was brought before Caiaphas and Annas, the high priest. He said, I spake openly to the world, and in secret have I said nothing. Why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me, what I have said unto them. Behold, they know what I said. So God simply said, I spake openly to the world. He was speaking to the world. And so when Jesus said, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, what he's saying is, what he's referring to is that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. All right, that's in Romans chapter 10. Belief, faith, knowing that there's a God, believing because of evidence, believing because I know that I know, that comes from hearing the word of God. Just as you're listening to me speak the word of God, I'm certain somebody is believing some things that I'm saying. Maybe not everything, but you're believing some things. And so Jesus said, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. And then he says, if I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. But now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father. So what he's saying is, when he came, he did his miracles. And if you realize that God still today does miracles, just look it up on YouTube. I mean, just to start. But yes, God still does miracles. And if you just research it, you'll find that, yes, miracles are done. Miracles happen.
But how do you know that?
We can't explain.
Yeah, there's the whole thing of how do you know, though?
And they're not good miracles. I mean, if I could see, an amputated limb grow back or something, that would be proof. But I mean, somebody who has spontaneous remission, that I don't consider to be a miracle.
Well, okay. Some people have never seen miracles happen. I get that, and I sympathize. I know there's some people who've never experienced a miracle, but there are people who have. Those people don't have an excuse. Jesus said, if I had
Okay.
not come and done among them the works, which none other man did, they had not had sin. There are people who have seen miracles. I've seen miracles. My aunt had cancer, life-threatening cancer, years ago.
Okay.
Okay? And she was supposed to die. She went through chemotherapy, everything. All right? Well, Jesus said that these signs would follow them which believe in my name. Said that they would cast out devils, speak with new tongues, etc., etc. They shall lay their hands on the sick, and they shall recover. My mother went in and prayed for her while she was asleep, laid her hands on her, anointed her with oil, and prayed for her, that God would heal her. Miraculously, when my aunt went to the doctor, I don't recall when, I can't give you dates, I can't give you specifics. When she went to the doctor, they said the cancer was gone. Okay, that is a personal testimony for myself.
Okay.
Now, I never saw the miracle. You may not believe my testimony about it, but that's okay. There are people in this world who have seen miracles, who have experienced that. And to those people to not believe, they have very few excuse. They have very little excuse.
So,
So I can
I just
sympathize
wonder, I
with
mean,
people who've never seen a miracle.
right, but I mean, in that case,
I
like,
do
she
sympathize.
went through chemotherapy and everything, and you don't think that the doctors had anything to do with her recovery?
No, I do not. I do not.
Nothing at all? So the chemo was in vain?
No.
Like, she shouldn't have bothered with it? Okay. Okay, and see, I would believe the opposite in that case. Like, I can't,
And that's fine.
you know, yeah.
I can give you another example. Okay? I was engaged to this girl years ago. She said she wanted to join the military. I didn't think that was an idea to start a family. I figured I'm the breadwinner, so I would take care of her. I voiced my opinion, and she just didn't care. So we prayed for her. Me and a friend of mine, we prayed for her. And based upon the scriptures, it says, if two of you shall ask anything in my name, it shall be done of them my Father which is in heaven. So we prayed, me and my friend. And when I rose up from prayer, immediately I got a phone call from my fiance. And she had been in basic training for 3 weeks. She said, they're not letting me in. They're not letting me stay.
Did they say what reason it was?
They said she was not fit. She was not fit for the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And so, again, that's another personal testimony from myself. You can believe it or not. You can believe it or not. But when a miracle happens, go ahead. What's up?
Okay, but here's the thing: is that right? Well, those things are personal evidences to you. And look, trust me, I've never had a miraculous experience myself. So again, I'm not saying, because I haven't, that makes them wrong. Again, I don't put that
Sure.
perception. Okay, but here's what I'd say is that you need to understand that again when you talk about the historicity of a person, you have to understand what they're talking about. They're talking about the historical record and what is known about that person. Now, if you looked at, for example, what scholars and historians have said, the consensus tends to be that we know that Jesus existed around the 1st century and that he was crucified. What else we know about him is the mystery. Okay? Now, if we want to believe, like you and me do, that he was the Son of God, well, he was who he claimed to be, then that's fine. That's for you and me to think. Okay, if someone wants to believe something else than that, as I said before with the whole opinion thing, that's their opinion as well. They have the right to that opinion. Would you not agree?
It's their evil opinion, I would say. I would say it's not a good opinion.
When we just know one thing about him is that we know he was crucified in the 1st century, and everything else we know about him is up in the air. Again, what I think about him is up to the individual person. Would you not agree with that?
No, I would definitely not agree with that. I would say, according to history, according to written record. Jesus died, rose again, ascended to heaven, and is with the church today doing miracles and work, and is actively in the world as we speak.
Okay,
He is not
agree.
gone.
Again, you think that I disagree with that? I don't. But what I'm saying is that there are people who don't believe that.
And I understand that. And that's between them and God, and they will answer to God for that on Judgment Day. And
Right.
God would not say, there's a reason why Jesus said, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. There's a reason why he said, they that won't believe will be damned.
Yeah,
There's
but
an evil conscience in the hearts of people who don't believe God.
no, but
And
you do understand that belief is not a choice, right?
it is a choice.
It's not a choice. Like, you can't
How is
decide
it
what
not
you
a
believe.
choice?
So can you start believing that the sky is red? Can you just believe that? Can you force yourself?
There's no
to believe
evidence. There's no
That's
evidence that
that's
the
the
sky is red.
reason you
That's a lie.
believe something. You can't force yourself not to listen to evidence.
Yeah, it's based on evidence. So
Sure.
so I can't
I mean, if
force
you watch-
myself to believe. I have to be given evidence in order to believe.
Absolutely. Well, let's take this for example, okay? If you watch, like, I don't know if you guys watch Murder Mystery or whatnot, but there was a case where there was a young man, and his brother, they were conspiring to kill their parents and take their insurance money, okay? Now, they were caught. And the man was recorded saying, talking to the hitman, I will pay you 30 grand, kill my parents. That's what he said. Now, they recorded that, and the detective went to their parents and said, listen, this is the FBI speaking, he said, I've got here evidence that your sons are conspiring to kill you. And they didn't want to hear it. They said, I don't believe my children would do such a thing. So despite the evidence presented, they did not believe. Now, does that make them legitimate in their belief or non-belief?
No, but they just didn't want. They
just didn't want to hear it.
Right, but that's not my position. I want to hear the evidence.
I know, well, and that's good. And there's people out there who don't. And for those people, I'm sorry, but there's just no hope. Because here's the thing. God gave this parable in Luke chapter 16. You can read about it. And it's about the rich man and Lazarus. And Lazarus says when he died, the beggar... Stand by. Shoot, my wife's calling. I'm going to have to cut this short. But basically, Jesus gave this parable that when the rich man died and went to hell, he told Abraham, he said, send Lazarus, all right, to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them of this place, so they don't come into this place of torment. Abraham replied, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. He said, nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And Abraham said, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. Moses and the prophets is the Bible. If people won't listen to the Bible, they will not be convinced to repent, though they saw a miracle such as someone being raised from the dead. And gentlemen, I'm going to have to cut this short. I got to call my wife back. And I've enjoyed this interview. We can continue this another time, but I've got to take my kids to the pool and I've got to call my wife. So I'm going to have to cut this short.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. Yeah.
Thank you, Barry.
Bye.
All right, guys. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Oops.
So Jade, you didn't say anything that whole time.
Well, I thought everything was going fine, but didn't think I needed to. I mean, a couple times I did, but I really couldn't sort of... sometimes you have to find a place to, wedge yourself in without being totally irrelevant, I guess the way to put it. But, he didn't really address Char's question, and I think that's a serious, that people say, well, there's evidence for God. Well, where is it?
He's in
You
the
know, what is it?
Bible.
Yeah, it's in the Bible, and that doesn't do it. See, there's a difference between, again, I've mentioned many times what Stephen Jay Gould called the magisterium of the church, and the magisterium, the we think of the science and of knowledge that we get through empirical reasoning, and they don't really cross. You can't just go outside and say, oh, look at this beautiful, wonderful world we live in. That's evidence of God. Well, yeah, it's also evidence of, evolution and Big Bang Theory and, lots of other things like that. We can explain everything that's outside our door. We may not be able to explain it all the way to the minutiae, but we've got a pretty good idea of how things happen. There's still some gaps. And we don't need God to explain any of that. So it's not that there isn't a God there, it's just that we don't need God to explain the world. And to argue that, well, you find God in the Bible, yeah, a lot of people read the Bible and they don't find God in the Bible. They don't find this convincing evidence that there is a God. God does not speak to them through the Bible. And there are a lot of people who will say, well, you just have to read the Bible and God will come to you. Well, it doesn't happen. There are people who read the Bible for years and years and years, and it's just not there. Faith, believing in God really comes down to faith. You cannot prove or disprove that there is a God. It's faith.
I disagree.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I disagree with that to a little degree because I think you can say that stuff that suggests it.
Okay.
I mean, as I said, that's why I did that video to you, Shah, because I was doing the stuff that suggests it to me. I wasn't saying that it's universal at all. I'm just saying there's the stuff that suggests it to me. What they see, the ideas of pocket universes and stuff like that. But again, there's somebody who could say, well, this is you're wrong and this is the way I see it, and that's fine. As I said, that's why when he was talking about his series about atheists are silly or whatever it's called, that's the reason that I got on him a little bit, because I thought, well, hang on a sec, how can you say that you're... I was trying to be Brian J for a minute, actually.
Yeah, but I see what you mean. No, see, to a lot of people, yes, there are a lot of evidences for God, and those are personal, though. That's the problem, is you can't say some universal, oh, I think that God exists because of this, because everything's,
It's
so
not like mathematics. You cannot use...
Exactly, it's not... And
like mathematics is universal for us. Like, you can verify mathematics to every person. 2 plus 2 is 4.
Yes.
Everyone accepts that, unless you don't know math. But that's something else.
Oh, okay, but okay, I agree with that to some extent, but...
Like, that's why empirical evidence is considered really strong evidence, because it's mathematical in nature.
Okay, but again, that's the reason that I was trying to get through to him. Maybe you should try the historical approach rather than it's in the Bible, so therefore it must be true approach. Because again, while I would agree with him in his points, again, there's not one way that you're going to get that through to somebody who necessarily disagrees with the authority of the Bible. And that's the point that I was making.
Well, yeah, that was my point was, he said atheist agnostic. Like I said atheist agnostic. You can be an agnostic. I'm like, agnostic is a knowledge claim. Agnostic and agnostic are knowledge claims, while atheism and theism is a belief.
Yeah. Again,
or lack of belief.
Yeah, belief and lack of belief.
As I said, I consider myself an agnostic theist because, again, I can't prove it.
You don't know there absolutely is a God, but you believe one there is anyway.
Well, I accept the probability that there is. So, yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it's more probable than there not being, in my opinion. But again, that's why I present it with saying my opinion, because if it's your opinion, again, because probability...
Oh, yeah, of course it's your opinion. Yeah, it's of course.
Well, that's the problem, reason that I have a problem with those people saying, well, I can prove that your God is 99% not existential. That's the reason that I have a problem with that, because that's a mathematical, probability. It's all about mathematics. Well, I'm not both myself. I have spoken to people who've told me why that fails.
Jade, Shar, are you there?
Yep.
You anything
Yep,
to say?
go here.
No, I guess just, I kind of would have liked an answer from him, that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
But,
that's fine.
yeah.
Again, when it comes to the historicity of Jesus, again, it is something that the academic field itself doesn't really discuss because it's a non-issue.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, from a scientific aspect, there is no God because if you add God to science, then it's not science. It's, you could use God to fill in gaps, and then you have issues.
Well, you don't need God or a
Well,
God
yes,
to
yes.
explain the natural world.
Well,
That
yeah.
doesn't mean that there wasn't a God behind creating the natural world, or that there is a God somehow existent within the natural world. It's just not relevant to the discussion,
Yes.
so to speak. It's not, doesn't mean there is or is not a God. It just means it's not
It's a question that
relevant.
does not need to be asked.
Exactly. For science to be true.
Yes.
It's
Science does not care if there is or is not a God.
exactly.
Okay. As I was saying, if you look at, for example, the history, the way that history works is that the more people talk about a subject, the more likely it is. Again, it doesn't work. That's why history is so hard for other people who are historians to understand. Because again, it's a very complex thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, if you look at, for example, that's why that's why I was trying to help people on to the historical route, because then we could get talking about things like, for example, Josephus or Tacitus and stuff
Right.
like that, and why they are evidences despite not being at the same time. Because again, that is evidence. As I said, it's well not being written at the same time. They were historians and very good historians for the time they were written at, because they did a lot of extent research and a lot of ground lead work behind the scenes. So that's the reason why people use them as sources of information. Because again, if they were just Joe Small off the street, then yeah, you wouldn't take their word as seriously as you did with those people. Because again, that's the reason that a lot of people will try and find ways of dismissing those opinions, because it is, if you're in the mindset, well, Jesus didn't exist, and if you're in that mindset, you have to find a way to try and dismiss to historians like Josephus and going, well, you see, Josephus wasn't a historian. He was. Well, you see, because he didn't really do research. Yes, he did. Again, when you get down to that, they sort of have to struggle and then go, well, you see, it's been known that it was a forgery. It isn't a forgery. And it's...
Well, I mean, I've heard from several people that it was a forgery, but that does not really matter to me. Like, okay, Jesus existed, but can you tell me? But you can't really prove that he did what he said,
I can prove that he was crucified.
Sure, but other people were. That isn't necessarily something
it wasn't
special.
unique to Jesus, because it happened to many people in the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire, that was their favorite method of torturing people.
Well, yeah, the crucifixion, yes, but the thing is that they use with the big T, not the little T.
They use the big T. Well, the thing that the cross we have now is a Latin cross.
It's the little T. It's the Tau, I think.
Well, it's not the little T. It's just basically it's the Latin cross, which came later.
It's the little T, but the thing is that one costs more wood and stuff, and it's more intricate to do than.
Well, they didn't do it because they did the big T, as you said, for crucifixions. The middle T, as I said, the middle T came later as part of the Latin cross, because when it mixed with like Britain and Ireland, and the Celtic cross got mixed in, that's why we get the Latin cross from.
Okay.
So again, it's you see, because when you have to deal with the zeitgeist people like I do, you have to know this stuff.
So you said you could get Rand Campbell?
I'm trying to get him. He's not responding to my. I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to get him online.
What do you mean he's not online?
No, he is online.
About what you were saying about, the historicity of Jesus, when you have certain historians that write about things that are verified by a lot of other people and that are verified by anthropology, that's when you can believe what they're saying.
Okay. I've got Brad.
You think he'll come on?
Well, I just asked him and he said sure.
Okay.
How much longer is the show going to last?
We got 20 minutes.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. So I need to. I'm going to mute myself for a minute because I'm going to send out some notes. Okay. So Gary, give us kind of a rundown of who were the historians that you were talking about, and try to explain a little something about. Okay.
What about Fifi the Elder or some shit?
Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder was a Roman procurator around the time of late like second century, but his videos were talking about people singing a song to Jesus, who could have been anybody.
What do you want?
He didn't say anything necessarily about Jesus, just that
Why do you want
he was singing to him like he was a man and stuff
Which
like
one?
that. So again,
because
so I'll just
two of them are mine. Go away. What do you do?
So
Wait.
There's him, as I said, there's Suetonius, but he talked about it in the.
It's mine in the box.
He was talking about he was talking about in the 12th Right, just wait. Sorry, I'm just trying to talk to Rand while I'm doing this.
Tomorrow's topic's gonna be a lot better.
Okay.
Fairy tale time. Was that Jade?
Okay, just give me a sec. Alright.
Is he there?
Rod, are you there?
Do I sound like I'm here?
Yeah,
There's
hello,
an
Rod.
echo.
Yeah, alright, I don't know why there's an echo.
Now there's no echo.
Alright, I had to put my headset on. I could join you guys for a bit. I got some important stuff to do this afternoon later, but...
Okay. Jade, you there?
Guys. Oh, hey, Jade, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm still muted because I was typing.
I don't have to mute when I type because I type with my thumbs and it takes me a week to say hello. So it doesn't really sound that bad.
Well, you should try practicing with your big toes. Then you could have the keyboard further away from you and you wouldn't have to worry about any sound carrying.
I use my big toes when I type in Hebrew.
He uses his toes?
No, we're just acknowledging that I'm not a typer. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
My son, when he was 12, he was like, and I remember walking to his bedroom. I was like, who taught you how to type like that? Because I was always under the impression that you had to go, in school, back when I was young anyways, the girls would all go to typing class. And now it's like you don't even need a class to learn. These guys are just learning how to type by, I guess, trial and error, by being on the computer.
I mean, I remember when I was in high school, they had a stupid class on computer typing, which I hated.
Yeah, I just do my thumbs. I'm still from the old school. I like this. If you want to talk to me, you're better off to call me. Texting, I'm not a big fan of. My fingers are too fat. And, my daughter will text me sometimes. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? I'll just call her out, tell her what I'm doing.
Okay, man. So I mean, I saw the video you did to Live Life and Coctopus where you talked about we talked about the DOMA thing. So I was like, I was
this
wondering,
you want to? Yeah, okay.
no, 'cause that's just basically one of the topics we're going over. So I was just wondering, like, I mean, like, because like, I mean, I mean, so do you think that gay marriage should be allowed or what?
You're going to see Rand take a real turn in the stance that you might believe I've taken in the past on Christianity. I've been introduced to a few other Christians. I'm not going to mention them, but I've got a few other Christians that I've met here on YouTube over the last week or so. And I've had a few battles with some of the Christians that I've been associated with in the past. And a few things have occurred behind the scenes that nobody's aware of. But with that being said, it's changed my opinion slightly. So you might see a different biblical stance with me now, as I've learned some things. I'm not a big fan of Calvinism. Let me just say that.
Okay.
As far as homosexuality, I believe that God is in control of everything. I think that God can use what appears to be bad and make it good. I think that God can take what is good and make it bad. My thing with Live Life and Octaface was in respect. Did you guys see me on their show?
No.
Okay. Because the night that I was on their show the night before, and I went in because I as well have a Vaughn TV show. I don't use it often, but it's called Three Thugs for Christ. So I would go into previous shows of his with that name and, type things to them. And they weren't sure if it was Rand Campbell or not. Some of them were guessing. Redline was like, no, it sounds like Rand Campbell just in the title. So they had figured out, I guess, in a sense, it was me. At any rate, I went into the room when they were talking about this Prop 8, whatever. And they were drunk, obviously. I mean, Live Life was clearly hammered. So they invited me onto the show. So I came onto the show, and I did what most of you people that want me on shows, or in some cases don't want me on shows. I gave them exactly what it was they were looking for, which was some high pitch controversy. Now, do I believe that homosexuals do not have the right to be married? I would say from a worldview, yes, they do have the right. They have every right to stand up before society and to stand up with each other and make a lifetime commitment no different than a man and a woman does. Now, if I look at it from the view of God that I cherish, I would say that was not God's intention. With that being said, this world is not, in my opinion, a good place. And most of what we're doing is probably not making God very happy. I am going to take the stance. 1 second here. I'm sorry, brother. I'm going to take the stance that I have now found in my heart that God is in control of everything, and that what will be will be. And I am no longer going to be preaching. I think that what's happened with Christianity is that a lot of Christians are preaching evil, and the Word of God is not going. So I have chosen, I don't know if you guys have seen my recent video, but I have chosen to go over to the truther community and preach the Word to them. I don't think that the atheist movement is a good place for Christians, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, well, I disagree with you, Rob, but again, here's a thought thing, right? Is that do you not think that homosexuals who are in love and want to get married, do you not think that's part of God's plan? Because I mean, because they can provide a solid family environment for children, and actually some of them are even Christians. Actually, a good proportion in America are Christians. even though
Well,
they're gay.
I guess my accent must have had you misunderstand me. Again, I believe that God is in control of everything. I believe that God can take good and make it bad and make bad and make it good. I believe that from a worldview, it seems okay. I mean, at the end of the day, if I want to have a dog in my home because I love dogs, nobody should force me to have a cat. So I would agree in the sense that from a worldview, yes, everybody deserves their rights within the laws of the land. And God wants us to obey the laws of the land. So, but now if I look at it from a scriptural, biblical sense, in Romans 1:1 through 28, it does talk about the lawlessness of man on man and God turning themselves into reprobates. With that being said, yeah, I know that you guys know that I've been on that particular thing for quite a while now. I'm going to leave it at this, Gary. I don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing as far as the agenda of pushing that particular issue onto humanity. It's gotten to the point, and I would caution you not to argue what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to say, if you argue this, then you're not paying attention. It has become almost to the point where if you don't agree with it, you're being made to be afraid not to believe in it. And that was the issue that I had with Joe and Octaface, was that they're making those that don't agree with it afraid to just not feel like they want to agree with it. And I would call that a form of bullying. And I know that homosexuals have been at the butt end of bullying their entire lives and still are, and I feel really bad for that. But bullying is also now being transferred to that if you are against something that the minority is starting to accept, and you're like in the last group of accepting it, that you are being forced to accept it, because if you don't, then you don't believe in equality, which may not necessarily be the truth. It's not that I don't believe in equality. It's that as a Christian, I find it unbiblical. And to be real honest, even before I became a Christian, I was raised in a generation where that was unacceptable, and especially for men. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to take an old pair of shoes and reinvent with me, which is fine. I understand that we all have to, I don't want to use the word evolve, but we all have to grow with the times, and we all have to learn to adapt to change. But there are some changes that Rand Campbell may not be able to adapt to. With that being said, this week I have adapted to the fact that some of the really hardline white knuckle Christians are turning people off except Christ. And I feel as though I may have fallen into that a little bit. And I've just reevaluated my stance on that. And am, wow, what's all that noise? Is somebody playing baseball? So I guess what I would say to you, Gary, is that I don't like it, but because I don't like it, it doesn't make it wrong.
Okay, but I mean, what I'd say is that, like, not too long ago, I mean, people were saying the same things when it came to interracial marriage. That the two races shouldn't intermix and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of states that, a lot of people who say the same things, that every race should keep to itself, blah. And that, again, it was something that they just had a problem with. Now, again, I think that it's a similar-ish problem here, is that you personally don't like the idea, but again, there are tons of gay people out there who are, as I said, good parents. If you and do good works, it's just that they just are attracted to people of the opposite sex.
Well, and I think it's totally fair, actually. Like, because I mean, if I'm being totally honest, when I watch two gay men kissing, it doesn't turn me on. It doesn't make me feel all that good inside. But I don't care. I'm able to separate my personal feelings about sexuality from the facts of the matter, which are that these are people, they deserve rights, they deserve equality, and the two shouldn't mix, you know. And I think that's where a lot of people are not, like, I mean, people want to basically justify their feelings through the Bible, or maybe through law, or maybe the other way, maybe like by, you know, stating equality and how important it is. But there are two separate issues. How you feel and the facts are different things.
Yeah, great.
You know?
I'm not disagreeing with you, but saying that if you look at, for example, I understand where Brad's coming from, that it's as a personal bugbear with him. But again, I just don't understand it, because again, it's not bothering you because, I mean, you're a straight man in Canada. I mean, I imagine that most of the couples here around you are straight, so it doesn't affect you unless you want to do select.
Well, let me ask you this, Gary. Do I have the right to not like it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, I mean, I will respect their right to their belief that they deserve rights and respect. I believe, yes, they deserve it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it. You know what I mean? Like, I posed a question with Live Life and Octoface that if a man who was an upstanding citizen in society, had a great job, paid his taxes, was a good father, a good husband, an honest neighbor, and to meet him, you would see nothing wrong with him. But every once in a while, he'd like to go privately into his house, in the privacy of his own home, and masturbate to pictures of children in a magazine, not a porn magazine, just an average, everyday modeling magazine of clothing. And he would do that. Does he have the right to do that?
Yes.
Okay, should I respect that right?
No. Again, they're two different things, because, again...
Well, no, they're not two different things. Because and I'm not trying to compare that to a homosexual relationship. What I'm saying is that that might be acceptable to somebody, bro. Somebody might say, yeah, I got no problem with that, that's what they're into, and they're not hurting other people. Sure, what you do in the privacy of your own home is none of my business. You see what I'm saying? So, and then somebody else might say, well, I don't care if it's in the privacy of your own home. If I ever walked into somebody's room and seen them doing that, I would be very upset by it and extremely disturbed by it. So I guess the point that I'm making is that I just have one more thing that would disturb me. You understand? If I walked into a room and saw somebody in a homosexual act, I don't know why this is in me. Maybe it's because of the era that I grew up in. Maybe it's because of the life that I've lived. Maybe it's also a part of my religion. But it would disturb me. It's just, I just have one more thing that would disturb me is all. I'm not saying they don't have the right to do what they want in the privacy of their own home. I'm just saying, I personally, if I seen it, I would be like, oh.
And you have the right to feel that way. That's fine. I think what a lot of people are saying is just that they want people to recognize that there's a difference between what they think about it and what is proper in terms of society, in terms of rights and equality for those people.
You're Canadian, right, Cheryl?
Yeah.
Okay, so this weekend is the gay parade in Toronto. You're aware of that?
Yep.
Okay, I reviewed last week, because I have a buddy of mine that's a street preacher, and he got arrested for street preaching at the gay parade last year.
Yeah, but he was causing a disruption.
Okay, well, I don't know that was his intent. It doesn't matter. They were throwing bottles at him and spitting at him, and okay, so let's put that aside. I reviewed the entire parade yesterday. I just kind of quickly went through it, and there are parts where 20 or 30 men are literally walking down the street naked. They've got no underwear on. They've got nothing covering the private parts. And behind them, as they're going down the street, you can see people holding their children in their arms. I would ask you, is society taking it a little too far? Is that acceptable to you guys?
Well,
It is to me because I don't think nudity is a problem. Personally, I don't care.
Well, because I would just say to Shout, I think public nudity is a problem because again, it's about common decency. Now,
Sure.
again, no. If you want to do it in the privacy of your own home, or on a nude beach, or in let's say, for example, there's an area in the city that allows you to do it, that's fine. But my children or anybody else's children should be privy to that because again, what happens if I don't want my children's child to see that, or someone doesn't want their children to see that? They should have the right not to take the children somewhere and see a woman's genitals or a man's genitals because that's what they choose to the child not to see or to say. Again, it's personal preference. Now, again, as much as I like personal freedom to express themselves as ways they want, there should be areas where they can do that. I mean, there's new beaches in France, I believe.
Right, but I'm saying, is the parade not a decent area for that to happen? It's a pride parade. They are really crazy over-the-top parades. What about when you go down to New Orleans? You see nudity all the time during Mardi Gras. Is that in the right context? Is that okay? Like, I mean, shouldn't you... Like, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, women are allowed to go topless in a lot of Canada now, and that's allowed on the streets in, like, there's no rules.
Are those acts being displayed as a show of equality and freedom, or are they being showed as an element of sexuality and lust?
Well, there you go.
No, wait, and I'll tell you why. Because there's also in the parade, there's two other things that take place. One is they're wearing leather pants, leather boots, and whips, and they're using whips, which is a sexual preference, as we all know. And then another event is a float where they're actually doing sexual performances, not actually doing them, but displaying them in a very suggestive way. So is it more about showing the love and the companionship of homosexuality and the family values of homosexuality, or is it a display of the lust and the sexual preference of homosexuality?
Gay pride parades are meant to just be crazy. They're meant for everyone to just let loose and do what they like and have some fun and not be condemned for it. That's what the parade's about. People go way over and above in those parades. You don't see that on a daily basis.
Yeah, you know who came up with that, Shark? Do you know who came up with that, what you just said?
What? Who?
Do what thou wilt.
No, well, I mean, I'd recognize that, but I'm saying, so what?
So,
I don't see a connection.
Well, do what thou wilt, meaning just let it all loose, and there, just do whatever you want, is a phrase by Aleister Crowley, who actually wrote the Satanic Bible, or Anton Levy. So
yeah, it goes back to
I'm just saying, all I'm saying, now this is going to be me being a little bit more biblical and a little bit less of a worldview. So you have to accept that part. I see it as the pushing of a lawlessness, of a do whatever you want as long as it's not hurting other people, which doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, make it right.
You ever heard of Burning Man?
Yeah.
Heard of Burning Man? There's other celebrations like that. You know, it's not just a pride parade. You ever seen?
That's Jade.
That's Jade. I mean, you ever been to Mardi Gras? I mean, talk about wild. People are practically having sex in the streets.
No, I would agree. I would say that's as fallen.
Yeah, I think it's healthy though.
Well, I would say,
get it out.
Do you know how many arrests? Do you know how many arrests there are during Mardi Gras? Does anybody have any idea?
Tons.
For drunkenness and fighting
there are a lot of
rape and sexual harassment.
I don't know.
Guys, on that note, can we possibly end it because the show has to end?
Oh yeah, we gotta end. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, there's a gay pride parade where I live. I need to have any of that stuff that you just mentioned. You know, about people going around in nude, because they understand that there's kids who come to that thing. I mean, because I've been to it, my niece is going to it, loads of kids go to it, and they don't show that sort of thing because they want to show respect. Because they'll support the kids coming to see them as long as the kids support their lifestyle, which they do. So it's all about what's the word, mutual respect. You respect the kids, they respect you. And there, I think that the gay people aren't respecting the kids who come in to support them.
Do you also know that they throw hot dogs into the crowd?
And that's supposed to be sexual, is it?
Oh, wow, Gary.
I don't know.
Please. Gary, come
I-
don't.
It doesn't sound that
ask,
sexual to me. It just
No, I
sounds.
know it. I know that it could appear as though it's about. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is.
So every time I go to a baseball game and they serve me a hot dog, I say about some guy's knob.
I'm honest enough. I'm honest enough to suggest that it could be. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I'm honest enough that if a gay man throws a hot dog at you, it might mean something. I'm not saying it does.
And I'm honest enough to say that even if it does mean something, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me. I don't care.
No. I know.
Yeah.
I know. And what I would suggest, Shar, is that humanity, if given the freedom to do so, could push the line right off the table. If given the freedom.
No, it wouldn't. I don't think so. It's self-correcting. That's why we have things like Burning Man and gay pride parades, so that people can go and have some fun. And yeah, some people are going to get arrested. They go too far. But
I grew up in Southern California. I grew up in Tourist Central. I grew up in the LA area, the Orange County area. I spent most of my life on the beaches. And trust me, I've seen most of that stuff on the beaches of Southern California. People get drunk. They go crazy. There's nothing like the summer in Newport Beach. It happens everywhere. People are supposed to let loose. I actually think that things like Burning Man and Mardi Gras and the gay pride parades are better because at least you've got all the craziness in one location.
Well, that's what I thought back in my day too, Jane, because there was an after-hours club that all the gangsters and all the bad guys from the street I lived in, we would all congregate to this after-hours club at about 1, 2 in the morning. And that's where all the drug dealers were, everybody. I mean, every bad guy in Toronto ended up at this place at night. And the police broke it up and closed the place down, and I thought, well, why would you do that? When you've got all of the criminals heading to the same place at the same time, and you're looking for people that have warrants or want to arrest people, why wouldn't you want them all in one place at any rate? So yeah, I agree with that having it all kind of into one group, and at least you've got it contained to some kind of a level. But my whole thing with Joe and Octoface was, and this, it's just what I believe. I believe that Joe is all mouth. I believe he's a chirp show. I don't believe that he believes most of what he says. He does it as a YouTube persona, and I'm not the only one that believes this. Somebody just put out a recent video on him exposing him as a liar, and that's just my opinion. I just believe that he will say a lot with his mouth, but you'll never see him back it. And that's what that video was more about. As far as Octopus, it was because him and I have been battling jokingly for a few months now since I was on his show, and we actually like each other. And it's more of I just grouped him in with Live Life. But for me to end my part of this show, because I know that the young man wants to go, but I believe everybody has the right to their rights, but I think that everybody also has the right not to agree with everybody's rights.
Yeah, so on that note, we'll end the show. Tune in tomorrow for the topic of sexuality. So signing out.
All right, bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Muted?
1 second.
Oh, goodbye. I was muted.